Hey everybody and welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through the basics of the Canvas element in HTML5 and walk you through essentially how to get something like this on a website. Now, bear in mind, you can change this and make different kinds of animated elements or images or things like this on your site. Now, we're going to do this from the perspective of someone who doesn't know HTML at all. So let's jump straight in. Now, I am going to walk through the code and explain the code, but I did want to show you that if you're struggling with this, you can ask ChatGPT to help you by making something in HTML5 with the Canvas element. And I didn't assign a role to ChatGPT. I didn't tell it to act as a professional developer. I just said, give me code to use as a sample. This is the code we're going to cover in this video. So I've pasted the code in here. I'm going to save the code and I'm going to refresh the page just to show you what we're starting with. Now we're going to break down the basics. We're not going through everything, but we are going to cover some of the main points that you would need. So up first, covering the head portion of the HTML code. So you'll see in this editor, if we click on an element or section of the code, it'll tell you or highlight where it starts and finishes. So in this case, we know within, after we've declared the document type as HTML, and then the HTML language, we have the head tag, and within it, we have the character set right here. We have our name, which is the viewport. So basically it's viewport content is the device or the width of the device, and then the scale. So basically we're saying, where is the viewport? What is the person loading this website viewing? How big is it? Is it the width of the device? Is it the width of the device divided by 2? So it's half the page. You need to figure that out. Then you have the title, which is just what appears up here for the page. And this can also sometimes help if you're trying to do like SEO, things of that nature. Now, here we have the style tag, and we are just specifying a canvas. So if you have any questions about code, you have two options for trying to figure out and work your way through it if you don't understand what it is. The first option is to just add in random numbers and change the code, save it, and see what happens from there. So you can clearly see the border got much larger, so we can guess that this is 100 pixels now. Now, another option, you can right-click a page, and then you can click Inspect. When you do this in Google's development tools, and most browsers have this, you'll see we have the ability to select something on a page, and we can click it. And you'll see that we have what looks very, very similar here. So if we open up the head element, you'll see that we have our border right here that matches what we have right here. Now, another cool thing that you can do if you're interested, just within this page, you can actually edit this code and see what it does on your page. Now, bear in mind that this is not a live update to the website, because otherwise you'd be hacking people's website. It's just making that change on your device. So what we could do is we can actually make that change here ourselves. Now, we've gotten through the first portion, which is basically just the head and style. Now we're getting into the body, which is the majority of the content for this page. Outside of that, just noting we have the Canvas ID here. This is pretty straightforward. If we were to change this to 500 by 500, it's the ID of the canvas. I'm basically just repeating myself. But to make that make more sense, you'll see this, what's contained within the border, this is the canvas. That's the size that's increasing. Now, we have our script, which is what's basically doing everything in the canvas. So we'll start off with this portion here, which we're kind of just skipping because there's not much of a change that you're going to need to make for this. This is something that we've already preset or established that we need. Now, what we're doing here is we are setting up the starting position and size of the object. So this is two separate series of numbers that are paired together. So the X and Y are the starting position. So if I refresh the page, you'll see it always starts from right here. If we change this to 120 by 120, then you'll notice at that point, when we refresh, it's now starting from further down the page. Now it's the similar thing with the width and height of the object. So if we save this, and then we refresh our page, you'll see that we now have this rectangle because we have the width set to be much larger than the height. Now, if we change that, we now have a much larger object. Now, for this next portion, I do want to let you know as a quick warning, if you have any sensitivity to light or movement or anything like that, you may want to be careful. And you're also going to want to make sure that you provide that warning to users if you're doing something like this. So if we decided to set the speed of the object here, we can save it and refresh the page, and you'll see it's now moving substantially quicker. So that's the basics of actually controlling the speed. Now, the rest of this is pretty straightforward based on what we've already covered. So this is a function that we don't really need to worry about too much. It's already kind of preset and working for us and serving its purpose. Same thing with reversing its direction. But you could modify these if you needed to choose something different as far as like how your object is actually moving or what it's doing. The only other thing to really note here is the portion right here. So you'll see that we have our function to draw the object. You'll see that we have some of the basics here, such as the canvas width, canvas height, and you'll see it's showing clear the canvas. And then we have our fill style. So it's setting the color of the object and then drawing the object. So the idea here is it's basically just a single function to draw it, a function to update it, to reverse the direction, and then to animate it, and then starting the animation. So that's really all that I plan on covering in this video. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment box below, and I'll see you all in the next video.